welcome to church. Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas Eve. Come on, I'm excited tonight to be singing carols, to take this time out on a busy day. Come on, we sing. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive a King. Let every heart prepare Him room. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. We will sing, sing, sing. Joy to the world. We will sing, sing, sing. We sing joy. Joy to the world, the Saviour reigns. Let men their songs employ. While fields and floods, bright shields in the day, with peace and rejoice, with peace and rejoice, and repeat the sounding Lord. We will sing, sing, sing. Joy to the world. We will sing, sing, sing. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of His righteousness, and wonders of His love, and wonders of His love, and wonders of His love. We will sing, sing, sing. Joy to the world. We will sing, sing, sing. Joy to the world. We will sing, sing, sing. Joy to the world. We will sing, sing, sing. Joy to the world. The stars are night to find, oh night when Christ was born, oh night to find, oh night divine. Carelessly merry gentleman, that I've been you dismayed. Remember Christ our Saviour was born on Christmas Day. From God our Heavenly Father, a blessed angel came, and unto certain shepherds what tidings of the same, how that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. And oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Now to the Lord sing praises, all you within this place, and with true love and brotherhood each other now embrace this holy time of Christmas. All others dark deface, and oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round your virgin
Edge Church Christmas Eve special. We're so glad you've joined us tonight. So glad you could find the time in your busy Christmas schedule to just come with us for a few minutes and escape the madness of Christmas 2020 or the chaos, and just concentrate for a few moments on the real meaning of Christmas. I promise there's no mention of virus, there's no mention of lockdown, and no mention of tears. Okay, I do. That's my guarantee tonight. So, Edge Church Christmas Spectacular. Although it's not spectacular, it's more special. Okay? So my time, just for a few minutes tonight, on this Christmas Eve, or whenever you're watching this, my title tonight is, actually, it's a line from a movie. Okay, so I want you to try and guess the movie it's from. Just in a couple of minutes, I'll give you the title. It's not A Wonderful Life, David and Aileen. I know that's your favourite. It's not A Wonderful Life. It's not any kind of Christmas movie, okay? So I'm going to mention what the title is, mention what the quote is, and see if you can tie the two things together. You ready? So my title is, You Can Sit Here If You Want. Have you got that? You can sit here if you want. You can sit here if you want. Have you got that? Can you guess which movie that one's from? Can you try and guess? No? Okay, time's up. I'll tell you in a few moments, okay? But I promise you, it's a line from a famous movie. I want to try and make these few minutes personal for somebody. I know that, the Christmas message can be a generic kind of for everybody out there kind of message, which of course it is. But I want tonight for a few minutes to try and make this message a little bit more personal, okay? With a bit of a twist at the end, like all good messages should have. The nativity story is, to me anyway, I see it as a whole series of scenes. It's a whole series of scenes, and some of them are dramatic, and some of them are loud and spectacular, and you see all of this in the nativity story. I'm going to read a verse from Luke 2, verse 7. And Luke 2, verse 7 simply says this, And she, that is Mary, brought forth her firstborn son, wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. Did you get that? There was no room for them in the inn. You could almost miss it. You could almost, it only gets this kind of small mention. There was no room for them in the inn. And yet for some child and their parents in the nativity play, it's a really big up part, isn't it? It's their moment on stage to be dramatic, and yet when the Bible mentions it, it's kind of like an afterthought. It's kind of like there was no room at the end, but we big it up for the big nativity spectacular when your child or this child comes on stage and he's the innkeeper and he's got the big lines to say, although the big lines aren't actually in the Bible, kind of make it up as we go along. There is no room at the inn tonight, but you are very welcome to come and stay in our manger. Like, that's his big moment. But when the Bible talks about that, when Luke mentions it, you could almost miss it. And that scene right there, that scene where it says, because put him in a manger, which is actually a hole in the ground where the livestock fed from, and because there was no room for him at the inn, it reminds me, and here it is, here's where the title comes from. It reminds me of the scene in the movie, are you ready? Did you get this right? Forrest Gump. Did you get it? Did you get it? Forrest Gump. On Forrest Gump's first day at school, he gets on the school bus and he goes to sit down. He's very nervous. He's very awkward. He's not looking forward to this. He goes to sit down. He's very kind of reluctant. And he goes to sit down, and 4 times he's told, you can't sit here. 4 times. Somebody says to him, you can't sit here. And then in his words, until he hears the sweet voice of Jenny. And the sweet voice of Jenny rises above the rest and says, you can sit here if you want. That's the line from the movie. You can sit here if you want. He's finally accepted. even though he's imperfect, even though he's awkward, even though he's been rejected 4 times, he's finally accepted. And the two scenes to me are so linked together. There was no room at the inn, and then when Jenny says you can sit here if you want, they are so linked because when you think about Jesus and God and Bethlehem, God knows what it's like to hear the words, you can't sit here. There was no room for them at the inn. He knows what it's like to hear the words, you're not welcome here. He knows what it's like to hear the words, to hear the word no. And this message tonight is for every person this year. It's for every person this Christmas who just feels like maybe you don't fit anywhere. And you're asking the question, where do I fit? You're asking the question, when is it my turn? There was no room, you see. There was no room for them. And that is how a lot of people feel at this time of the year, especially, but maybe other times of the year as well. That single and yet surrounded by happy couples. Do you get where I'm coming from tonight? Childless, but surrounded by happy families. Broke, but surrounded by spending people. There was no room. There is no room. And it might be how you feel tonight. There might be people here tonight who are listening to this, maybe on your own on Christmas Eve, or even with a group of people, you can still feel tonight somebody feels uninvited. Somebody feels rejected. Somebody might feel tonight unwanted. Somebody might feel unnoticed. All these kind of words, unrecognized, unappreciated. Some people tonight might be watching and listening to this. People in dark places. People in lonely places. People in worried places. People in frightened places. In exactly the place where Jesus was born. In a dark, lonely, scary, frightening manger. Filthy, dark, low in the ground. And I want to tell someone tonight who might feel like that this Christmas time, it's a time to remember, it's a time for the church to tell you, it's time for us to say that God is with you tonight in the dark place. God is with you tonight in the dirty place. God is with you tonight in the messy place. God is with you tonight in the frightened place. Because that's where he was born. There was no room. So he was born in a low place, in a dirty place. And he knows how you feel tonight. He can be your help and your comfort tonight because that's where he was born. And there is a sweet, sweet voice from heaven that says to every single person tonight who feels like that, you can sit here if you want. I've got room for you, God says. I've got somewhere where you will fit in. And God says to every single person tonight, if those words apply to you, that's how you feel tonight. Maybe you're watching this through tears tonight. God says to every one of you tonight, welcome home. He's the twist. Remember I said there might be a twist at the end. He's the twist. In fact, the truth is, in Revelation, Jesus said, I stand at your door and knock. I stand at your door and knock. And Jesus says, let me into your mess. Let me into your loneliness. Let me into your pain and your hurt. And let me in to your fear and your worry. And maybe today, somebody needs to say to God, somebody needs to say to Jesus, it's Christmas time, you can sit here if you want. You can say to him, as he knocks on the door of your life, as he knocks on the door of your loneliness, as he knocks on the door of your pain, you can say to him, God, Jesus, you can sit here if you want. Is that your prayer tonight? You can invite him to sit where you are, in the low place where you are. I'll finish with this. I told you it was going to be short and sweet, didn't I? I'll finish with this, but this is true. Our youngest daughter, Grace, who's now 20, when she went to senior school, she went to a Catholic school. And in Catholic school, you have to go to Mass. It's part of what you have to, you've got to go to Mass. And when the children, the pupils are invited down for communion, they go down to receive communion from the priest. Because Grace and a couple of other girls, because Grace isn't baptized Catholic, she had to approach the priest, had to approach the person giving communion like that, with her arms crossed, as if to say, I can't, I'm not allowed to accept this. I've got to tell somebody, she was excluded. I've got to tell someone tonight, that's not the heart of God for you. God's heart is, you can sit here if you want. There is nobody excluded. There is room for you in God's heart, in God's love, in God's peace. And God says to every person watching tonight, you can sit here if you want. We want to wish everybody a very happy Christmas under the most difficult of circumstances. We're still going to make it a good one. And we're praying for you. And we can't wait to see you again. Have a very happy Christmas from everybody at Edge Church. God bless you.